Dark Star, UCLA, and USC are moving to the Big Ten?
Well, it's very simple. They had to. I mean, the Pac-12 has lost its relevance on the college football landscape. We've gone to a pseudo-playoff system over the last 8 years, and the Pac-12 has not had a team in the playoffs in the last 5, and only 2 teams total. College football is about wins. Wins equal alumni donations. It's like that great line in Moneyball. People should be thinking about buying runs. Well, in college football, it's about buying players, even though, of course, it's a, actually, they're going to go to name, image, likeness, which is a future episode. But, it's about getting recruits. And how do you get recruits? The recruits want exposure. So you have to sign a big television deal. And this new Big Ten deal is going to be massive, unprecedented. And then when you have the exposure, you have the TV deal, you get players. Players, recruits equal victories. And victories give you ticket sales and alumni donation. It's really that simple. Money, players, money. And it just circles round and round.
Those 2 teams, UCLA and USC, both right there in Los Angeles, they just haven't been getting the same caliber of recruits because they're on the wrong side of that cycle.
Well, the relevance they've lost, there's no East Coast, there's no Midwest exposure. Every time I turn on the internet, I find just a shocking statistic. So the whole Pac-12 last year only had 3.5 games, the way the ratings work, of over 3.5 million people. The Big Ten had 21. Where do you even, if you're negotiating a television contract and you're the Pac-12, where do you even begin? Another interesting thing I just read, UCLA is actually in debt with regard to their sports programs. You're going to now be joining, and another shocking statistic, Ohio State and Michigan were the number 1 and 2 teams watched in 2021. And obviously the SEC has been dominating victories lately, and that really surprised me. So for example, last year, Ohio State and Michigan game was the number 1 rated regular season game with an 8.1 rating. The USC UCLA game got a 1.0. I was shocked.
Are they in the same day, same weekend?
So they were not in the same weekend this year, but typically they are on the same weekend. Yeah. The Iron Bowl, for example, is always on the same weekend, what used to be the traditional rivalry weekend. And I was shocked that Auburn, Alabama only got a 5.3. And another shocking thing, the Iron Bowl has only outrated the Ohio State-Michigan game, I think, 1 time in the last 20 years. At least the statistics I was looking at. Once again, surprising.
Why is it that they want to do all this for football, and they've neglected it so far?
The exposure actually also gets you, sadly, or not sadly, a higher quality student. Kids want to go and do something on a Saturday afternoon. They want to have a good football team. They want to have a reason to go out. Alumni, of course, donations massive. So if you look at the problems first for a school like UCLA, as I said, they're in debt, and there's no fans in the stadium. And you can't sell to advertisers if there's no fans, there's no atmosphere. You don't have the exposure.
But you're right. That the whole financial health of the university then, it doesn't hinge on football at UCLA or anywhere else, but it's a big, giant part. I think that's your point.
You think USC football, you think UCLA football, you think traditional powerhouses. And they have, as I said to start out the show, not been relevant. So they need that relevancy back. They need the money. They need to fill the stadiums. The tickets are big money now. And nobody, the Big Ten, not only do teams like Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin travel very well, as they say. That's why they get into bowl games. But there's people who are, from Ohio originally, living all over the South, all over the good weather. And sometimes they're not traveling. You're in Arizona or you're in southern Florida. Well, that is just an extension of Ohio, Michigan. Really, the second big point here is, you ask why do they join? Well, the timing is perfect. The Big Ten's television contract runs out in 2023. By happenstance, a year earlier than the SEC. Good business move. They're going to add the Los Angeles market? Wow. So you're going to have Big Ten football. And here's what you're going to have: Big Ten football. Here's basically going from noon on Saturday till Sunday morning now. They are dropping, and ESPN is obviously affiliated with the SEC. The ESPN owns the SEC network, or there's a strong affiliation there. ESPN and the Big Ten are no longer partners. For the first time ever, ABC, ESPN, and the Big Ten are no longer partners. So here's what I'm going to tell you is going to happen. You're going to have a Big Ten game on, say, Fox at noon. You're going to have CBS, who is also not going to probably renew ties with the SEC, have a Big Ten game at 4 in the afternoon, taking the place of what was their SEC game. And you're going to have all the streaming and all the minor Fox, NBC networks having night games every night, 7 o'clock games, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time games now. It's going to open up their streaming platforms. The Big Ten football, basketball contract will be worth more than $1 billion. And colleges, they like money. And that's huge. It puts them back into a position of strength against the SEC and ESPN, because right now the SEC and ESPN with the present playoff system have all the power. They get the teams in, and that's where the money is in the ratings in the playoff system. It's going to get back power on top of everything else.
The leadership of the Big Ten that put this deal together is sort of the anti-Jay Moynihan.
Yeah.
Monahan.
Well,
they're actually doing brilliant moves. They're brilliantly expanding their product, unlike the PGA Tour.
Jim Delaney, I was never a huge fan of his, but looking back in history, I have to give him props. He basically told ESPN to go pound salt back in, I believe it was 2006 when the Big Ten started the Big Ten Network. He just said, well, you're lowballing us. I'm going to start my own network. Everybody thought he was crazy, and lo and behold, when something works, everybody copies it, and obviously everybody's copied it. He hasn't been the commissioner for the last 2 years, but I bet he had a hand in this. The present commissioner, I believe his last name is Warren. I believe he's a Penn grad, so I'm hoping he takes the reins and runs with this and continues the success. Because what I really hope for is college football, and this is way down the line, the consolidation will enhance the product, enhance the playoff system, and give us what we really want, a legitimate playoff system where you don't have to vote and lobby to get people in. Yeah, I mean, so the bottom line is for USC and UCLA to be competitive against the Alabamas of the world, they need recruiting. As I had mentioned, wins come from recruits. The coaching staff at Alabama doesn't have to show up and they're going to win 10 games. I mean, you look at who gets drafted. I mean, Saban's got a juggernaut down there, and we could have a whole show just on his, gray shirting and things like that. But one of the other things that was surprising to me regarding this deal, USC and UCLA are going to get a full share of the television deal in 2024. Being the new kids on the block, that's traditionally not the way it works. Nebraska, for example, a traditional football program, did not receive a full share their first years in the Big Ten.
Name, image, and likeness. This helps that, I suppose, across the Big Ten. As you say, wins equal alumni that own businesses that can give money for name, image, and likeness advertising. Is that a factor, not for today's show, but is it a prominent part of this deal, do you think?
I think it's going to be a huge deal for the Big Ten. They have, as I said, it's shocking to me that every time I look up, the Big Ten has the top ratings, especially in the regular season. Obviously, advertisers want ratings. It's going to be interesting how it actually shakes out. Are the schools going to sign contracts and just be able to pay the players directly? Are the players going to negotiate individually? boy, that is going to be it's going to be an interesting decade as far as figuring all that out, because every state wants to get involved.
Name, image, and likeness is going to be something that I want to spend some time on. I know you do too. It touches college football so prominently, among other college sports, and even down into high school, for sure.
I just want to tease, I think there's going to be consolidation. I see the Big Ten and SEC forming essentially almost two super conferences with these additions, and I think we're going to talk a lot about that in the next college football episode, because I'm looking here, top 50 games last year from a rating standpoint. The Big Ten had 21 and the SEC had 18. So that's 39 of 50. That's a significant number. I'm pretty sure that's a significant number, even on the new math. We're going to talk a lot of college football upcoming.
PGA Tour, college football, there's a few sports that really lend themselves to online gambling that's going to sweep through most of the states because of the money, just like the lotteries swept through all the states eventually.
The states want the name, image, likeness money. They want the gambling money. I did have a gambling tip, but I'm going to save it for the next show.
That's all for this video. For Dr. Darkstar and me, thanks for watching. This is a show about finding logical conclusions, and we appreciate you coming along with us. We'll be adding episodes as fast as we can. There's certainly no shortage of things going on in this world.